probably about 9 o'clock.
Today?
Last night.
Last night, huh?
It's not 9 o'clock yet, Dave.
Yeah, I mean,
This?
true.
Days have all streamed together.
Who's this?
Rabbi Levine.
Yossi Zalman.
Yes.
David reminded us of the story with Rav Hutner and the Rebbe. You remember the famous story with Rav
Heint
Rebbe?
habe ich noch nicht gedacht, Marv.
Yeah, he was one of the very few who could start up with the Rebbe.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? The Rebbe started out with him. The Rebbe asked him if he wants to have mincha.
The Rebbe asked him an innocent question. I guess he felt it wasn't so innocent when it was a stark tinkle in drossen.
Yeah. Yeah, someone told me on my side that there was somebody who wanted to meet with the Rebbe. The Rebbe wanted to meet with somebody. So it was somebody who was at Tziyoni. So the person said, I'll meet with the Rebbe, but I don't want to be talking about anything to do with Tzionim. I don't want to get into a fight. I'm not interested in fighting with the Rebbe. Just as long as he promises not to talk about anything that's not related to what he wants to talk to me about, and not related to him screaming at me about Zionists, then I'm happy to talk to him. Showing to the Rebbe was masculine. So the Rebbe speaks to him. In the middle, the Rebbe can't control himself. He starts hacking him about Zionim. So he says, the Rebbe wasn't supposed to talk about Zionim. He says, yeah, but you started up with me. He said, what did I do? You were here. So that's what you mean. So Reb Hutner said the Sam Rebbe started up with him. He was there. Okay.
Got it.
Zok Tehillah Gemara. We're talking about putting the shoe on the other foot.
Yossi.
We didn't get that far.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. We're 1 2 dots back. Rebbe Matir ad Sheva.
Sponsors.
Oh, I thought we discussed that already, but we'll do it again.
It wasn't recorded.
Oh, I think it was, but I'll say it again. Today's shir is sponsored by Reb David Zolti and family. Lezech and Nishmas, our dear, very own Reb Moshe and Reb Chaim Zolti. That's all.
I'm not paying double for that.
That's right. And like Akiva says, if anybody copies this without permission or uses it without permission is automatically granted, and no matter what he does with it, it's still the Ilu Nifus Reb Moshe ben Reb Chaim.
Amen.
Okay. So let's see the Halakha Gemara. So yesterday we were discussing how many nails you could put into this shoe, into this sandal hamasumar, without it be considered a sandal hamasumar. Rather, it's just for decorative purposes. So Rebbe was matir up to 7 nails. For Gemara about Tanya, Rebbe matir at shlosh esrei. We had another brayso that says Rebbe says 13 nails. That is right up here. So let's see the Gemara inside. Gemara said it right over here. Meisve sandal anoit oisla sheva divrei nosim Rebbe Mati b'yud gimel. So how could Rebbe say that there's only 7 nails if over here Rebbe's matir with 13 nails? So the Gemara noite shiny. Maybe you could say that the sandal that Rebbe was talking about when he said 13 nails was a sandal where the sole was rubbed out and it was leaning, and maybe there more nails are allowed because those nails help support the smaller side of the sandal so that it should be level. So therefore, the brayso that discusses a sandal hanoita, you can't ask any questions from because that has special rules because of the fact that it's worn out. Zok the Gemara. So now that you reach that point that you cannot bring a raya from the brayso that talks about sandal and noita, well, let's go back at another kasha that you asked on Reb Yochanan from this very brayso. Reb Yochanan kasha. So therefore, the kasha that you asked from Reb Yochanan, who is he going like? Because he doesn't stim with anybody in the brayso, Rebbe or Reb Nosson, that's not a kasha anymore because noita is shiny. Even though Reb Yochanan only allows 5 nails, but the brayso of sandal and noita, where there's a mechalikas if you can have 7 nails or 13 nails, there either shita would be consistent with Reb Yochanan because sandal and noita has separate rules. Omer Masna, Varmidom Reb Tavoy by Masna, Omer Reb Masna, in the name of Reb Masna, Ein Halacha Krepshim Ben Kerbelosha B'Shimon. So a moment ago we learned, which was yesterday, we learned that if you have a sandal HaMasumar, you're not allowed to wear it, but it's not muksa. You're not allowed to wear it, but it's not muksa because you could use it lachasas boys at keli or v'lismach boy kare hamita. But Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon was makbid not even to use it. He said it's usher, meaning it's almost like muksa. So Zok the Gemara, ain't halacha Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon. We're not going to paskin l'chumra like Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon. Fact the Gemara, pshita yochid v'rabim halachic rabbim. Why do I need your master to tell me that I don't paskin like Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon neged the rabbim? We always paskin like the rabbim. So the Gemara ma'udatem, you might think since Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon had a very good reason to aser, because Mustafa time with Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon. Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon had a very, very good taina. And what was the taina? Dr. Rashi, the asher l'taltal shema yidalenu. It's muksa because you might even put it on kamash malon that nevertheless we're makel. We don't pass like Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon. So I just want to stop.
Can you explain?
Yes, sorry. According to Rav Shimon Elazar, would it be exera? Like why would he do that? The whole thing is exera in the first place.
So to answer that question, we would go back to the original Rashi we had on the Mishnah, that when something is established that way from the beginning, it's not called exera. So Rabbi Elazar Bar Shimon might have learned that when they outlawed the wearing of a sandal HaMasumar on Shabbos, they outlawed its use completely for Shabbos. So that would not be exera.
Yes, Zalman?
Yes.
Could you explain to me that the reasoning behind that? I mean, just because he had a very good reason, and he told that reason to the Chachomim, and the Chachomim still disagreed with him. So why should the rule not hold of halacha karabim just because he has a good reason? They also knew that reason.
I understand, but Rav Masna felt that it was worthwhile pointing out that we don't pass like him. Lest not between him and the Rabbanan. Everybody knows that the Rabbanan are the reason to argue. But since there's a compelling reason, Rav Masna wants to make sure that people shouldn't be machmer. You know, he was a good Rav. A good Rav tells you don't have to be machmer. Ich wollte es allein getan. So Rav Masna was a good Rav. And we're going to soon see that there's a beautiful thing about a Rav that's makel.
This isn't a precedent. We find numerous places in Shas where you don't paskin after the Rav. We came across the one not too long ago.
But there's always a special reason.
Yeah, there's a special reason.
So Rashi wanted to identify what that reason was.
Got it.
Okay. So whenever a Rav is makel, everyone attacks him. Oh, he's a cow. A modern Orthodox. So you don't think this is a new problem that has happened here in America. This has been going on since the time of the Gemaras. And this next Gemara is just beautiful. Omer Abchia said, Ilav the Karili Babaloi Shari Isuri, I moved to Eretz Yisrael. And if I wasn't concerned that everybody in Eretz Yisrael was going to make fun of me, they're Amerikanische Michael, they're Kalike from America, they're Kalike. If I wouldn't be afraid of people saying that, Sharina Beituva, I would even allow more nails than the minimum nails that you'd be talking about, 5 or 7. The Kama, how many nails would Chia have allowed? So the Gemara Pumbedisa, Amrin, Esrin, Va'arba. In Pumbedisa, which I think is where Chia started off, because he started off in Bavel in Pumbedisa, and he made his way up there through the city of Surah. So in Pumbedisa, they said that he was matir with 24 nails. But Surah Amrin, which was on his way up there to they said he was only matir with 22 nails. And Omer Reb Nachman Yitzchak v'Semanech, the way to remember that is Ada Asam Pumbedisa l'Surah Chazartarti. Chia lost a couple of screws on the way from Pumbedisa to Surah. So a good way to remember it is to use that comment. It's funny how it's not just nowadays. There's a precedent. In the old days, he used to also make fun. But it's funny, Reb Chia, Be'etzem in his heart would have been Mekel, but he was afraid he would get attacked. I wonder if we have Piskei Halacha today sometime that come out because of intense pressure that's put on Rabbanim.
You think? Say that for sure.
You think? Really?
No. Pasnish.
But it's unbelievable. Reb Chia had that same problem. Betzim I would be Mekel, but I'm going to get attacked by the Kedoim. Zok to Gemara. But it's nice that Reb Chia put it out there into the Gemara. I want to see a Gadol today say, sure, I would be Mekel, but I don't want to get attacked. No one says that today. Okay, V'loi b'yochid b'zman she'ein b'raglei makkah. You're not allowed to wear a single shoe if you don't have a problem with your foot. So this is going to be a very interesting Gemara that's going to involve some halacha l'maisa. So the Gemara, hayesh b'raglei maka. Let's say he has an injury on his foot. So then you can go out with one shoe. So the question is, do you put the shoe on the foot with the injury, or are you going to put the shoe on the foot without the injury? My son burnt his foot. He said in a way it's a blessing in disguise that we didn't go to shul because he had to be barefoot since Erev Pesach. He burnt his foot while he was kashering. He said, had I been in shul, it would be very embarrassing. At home, I can get away with the bare foot. So he kept his shoe on the healthy foot, but he didn't put a shoe on the foot with the wound. The Gemara wants to know on which foot will you put the shoe? Is it the foot that's injured or the foot that's not injured? So the Gemara, on which foot would he put the shoe? Omer Avuna, where will he put the shoe? On the foot that has the makkah. Alma, you see from here, kasover sandal l'shum tsar of it. You see he's wearing the shoe to protect his foot from getting hurt if he walks on something sharp. So Rashi tells us that a normal person with healthy feet is not concerned when he's walking that he might step on something hard that would hurt his foot. But if his foot is injured, only then is he concerned, and therefore he's going to want to have some type of foot protection. To the contrary, the shoe the foot that does not have the makkah, that's where he's going to wear the shoe. Alma kasover l'shum tainig of it. So he must learn that a person wears a shoe because he doesn't want to walk on the ground. But if he has a makkah on his foot, he can't put a shoe on because it's going to hurt him to put the shoe on, and that's why he's not wearing the shoe. Now, really, we have to have hakdama to this because we never really reviewed the reason why it is that you're not allowed to go out with one shoe. So if I go back to Daf Samach Omer Aleph and we look at Rashi on the Mishnah there, where it says that you're not allowed to go out with one shoe, Zman she'ein b'ragli makkah. Zok Rashi b'shas Yerushalmi. In the Yerushalmi it says the loy lechashte. We shouldn't be choshed the toin lechavre tuti kamfe. Someone might suggest that he's actually concealing his other shoe in his beged and he's carrying it. So someone would be choshed him for being moichi mishus l'shus or being maver dalaramis b'shus rabim. But the lashon Reb Yosy, but what my Rebbe said, Dr. Rashi, is Dilma Machaychi alei, they'll laugh at him that he's wearing one shoe. He's like on Purim. V'shokil, and that's going to cause him to take off the other shoe and carry it. The shalaf umam tele biyadei. The shikha Shabbos because he'll be afraid. Umi b'zman sheyesh b'ragli makkah. But if he has a good reason that is clear to anyone why he is wearing only one shoe, then shuri, then it would be allowed because first of all, no one will be choshen him for carrying his other shoe because they'll realize why he doesn't have it, or they won't make fun of him. So those are the reasons. So if we use those reasoning over here, it's the same thing. Since he has a makkah that's mochiach upon him that he is wearing one shoe for a specific reason, no one's going to make fun of him, and no one's going to be choshen that he's carrying the shoe illegally. Zok to Gemara. Reb Yochanan also holds like Rav Huna, who says that on which foot would you wear the shoe? The foot that has a makkah on it. How do we know? From a story that occurred, a very interesting story. The Amalei Reb Yochanan, the Reb Shaman bar Abba. Reb Yochanan told Reb Shaman bar Abba, who I guess was his assistant, Havli Misnoi, could you please bring me my shoes? What did he do? Yoiv le diyamin. He only gave him the right shoe. Omer le told him, Asisi makkah. You made like my foot is injured. What does that mean? So Rashi, Rabbi Yochanan Svirle, Rabbi Yochanan held that noyel shal dalim, when you put on your shoe, noyel shall smoil tchila, va'achakach shal yamin. You're supposed to put on your left shoe first and then your right. Now we know, we paskin, and we're going to soon see in the Gemara, we put on our right shoe first and then our left shoe, and then we tie our left shoe and we tie our right shoe. And the Gemara here is going to bring out why we do it that way. But right now, Reb Yochanan held that you're supposed to put on your left shoe first and then your right shoe. Because Tokataitach, and the Gemara holds now, the Hali Kamerli, this is the protest, this is the scolding that Reb Yochanan gave to his assistant, because he told him as follows: if I put on my right shoe first, which is the wrong order, shuv loy enel shel shmoil acharav, I will no longer be able to put on my left shoe. Why? Because I won't want to violate the halacha. If I hold you have to put on your left shoe first, if I ended up putting on my right shoe, I can't put on my left shoe at all, because
Yossi,
I have
can
to
you
treat
just
it
take
like
off?
I have an injured foot.
Can't you just take off that shoe and start over again?
That's an excellent kasha. That's exactly what I want to elaborate on in just a minute. It's an excellent kasha. And I'm going to be forced to go out with only one shoe. So now you're making my right foot, which is the foot that you're giving me the shoe to put on, you're making my right foot like my right foot has the makkah. Alma, you see from Reb Yochanan as an aside that kasaver boys is yesh b'makkah noil. From Reb Yochanan's comment, you see that if he puts the shoe on only on one foot, it's as if he's announcing that that foot has an injury. Frek Dovi, let him just take it off and start over again. Right? That's a very good kasha. Because that's in fact what he would have to do. I guess that's what he would have to do. Why he didn't want to do it, I'm not sure, but that's in fact what he would have to do. But the poish can bring a riot from here that he can't just say, okay, for Fallon, I would have put on my left shoe first, but now that he brought my right shoe first, what I do, so I'll put on my left shoe. You see that you have to stop and redo it. So what would be the halacha if someone has in front of him shahakol and someone has a mezainis in front of him? So we all know that you're supposed to make a bracha first on the mezainis and then on the shahakol. Well, what if somebody did wrong and he made the bracha on the shahakol first? The halacha is you can't just go make a mezainis and say farfal. The halacha is you have to make a bracha achroina. From this Gemara you see that, and then you have to start over again. But you can't just do that because then it's a bracha she'ein esricha. So because of that, you'd have to settle for your shahako and wait a while till you could come back and start over again and make first a mezainis and then a shahako. You know, there's a
It's apples and Yossi, it's apples and oranges. One is a question.
Those are both eights.
Huh?
Those are both eights.
But one's a question of what bracha you make, and the other one it has nothing to do with brachas.
Right, but the point is, when you make a mistake, you can't just go on. You have to do over. That's the point. The point is you have to do over.
Okay. So what kind of a halacha is it? Excuse me. About what's the difference? What shoe you put on first?
The Gemara is going to discuss that. We're going to get into
what does that have to do with Yiddishkeit? Exactly.
The Gemara is going to illustrate it. I don't know if it's going to illustrate it to your satisfaction, but the Gemara is going to at least make an attempt at illustrating it.
Is there halacha what sock you put on first or what glove you
that's
put on?
actually a shaila halacha. There's actually a big shaila halacha about this that we'll discuss.
Can I ask a question on Rav Huna before we go on?
Sure.
Does Rav Huna hold that people would normally go barefoot? Because if
it seems so.
That people would normally go barefoot.
It seems so because he says sandal shem tzaravid, and he says normally a person wouldn't bother wearing shoes. He doesn't have a problem. He's only putting it on because his foot's injured.
So when you go to the base of Migdash, right? You're supposed to take your shoes off.
That's right. So obviously you were wearing them until then.
That's right.
Yeah.
I hear. That's why I don't have a clarity in this Gemara, because everybody would wear a shoe on their foot if it has a wound, unless the shoe hurts the wound.
It must be he holds that people would normally walk around barefoot because otherwise, why wouldn't you just wear two shoes? You would wear the shoe on your regular foot and you would wear a shoe on your injured foot.
That's right. Why not? That's right. So it seems like that would be like wimpy. That might be wimpy.
One thing I could say is that when my father came from Hungary in 1956, and he started walking around in the city barefoot, they told him that here in the city, it's not Hungary like in the village. So here you got to wear shoes. So it seems to me from what he said that in his village, they didn't, the peasants did not wear shoes. So it's possible that what David asked is very good, meaning they wear shoes in the city of Yerushalayim, but it's very possible that in the outskirts, there was a different mentality, and the peasants or the villagers or however we want to call them, didn't wear shoes.
Interesting. Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible. You know, there's a famous story about making brachos in order, that somebody came to be a potential suitor for Reb Akiva Eiger's daughter. So when he came to meet Reb Akiva Eiger wanted to see, is this guy a Talmid Chacham? Does he adhere to halacha? So he put out some food of different brachos, and he wanted to see if this future son-in-law would make a bracha on the right product first. So he had shahakos there, like eggs, and he had mazonis. And this bacher took the egg and made a bracha shakal and ate it. So Reb Akiva Eiger looked at him and said, shouldn't you be making a mazonis first? So the bacher, for a joke, said, the pasuk says you make a bracha on the egg first, because it says in Navi, v'ha'ai mikedem, mach kfir bracha tanai. So Reb Akiva Eiger says, "Lutzunis machste? Arotzen man stieb. Ich will dich nicht sehen." So I would never have made it. I would have never made it in the door there. Okay. Zok the Hedel Gemara weiter. So
Kedem means east anyway, not Kodem. He's making a drush on the Kedem.
Yeah. So the whole thing was a joke. That's right.
So, yeah, see, who was the core of the story? Was it the buffer or?
The shotgun sent it over. Okay. So a couple of since Reb Yochanan said, from the fact that you're bringing me my right shoe will make me into someone thinking that my right foot is injured, you see that Reb Yochanan felt that you put the shoe on the injured foot. Zok to Gemara, this is what David asks. Where in the world did you get this halacha from that you're supposed to put on your left shoe foot? How do you know you're supposed to put on your left shoe? First, you learn it from tefillin. Ma tefillin b'smoil, just like tefillin has to be put on your left hand, and there's actually two reasons why it has to be on your left hand. Rashi here says, which hand do you put it on? Yotcha mole, it's written with a chaf and a hey at the end to darshan yad keya, put it on your weaker hand. The hainu smoil she keya linyan tashmish. It's a little weaker. It's not normally our dominant hand. And there's another drasha in the Gemara that says, what's the lashon? Ukshartam le'ois. It has to be a kshira. What do you make a kshira with? You make the kshira with your right hand. If you're making the kshira with your right hand, you must be putting the tefillin onto your left hand.
So according to that svara, Yossi, then you put your shoe, if you're a lefty, you put your shoe on the right foot first?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a very good question. So the problem is, what in the world does tefillin have to do with shoes? Like, how do you equate tefillin with shoes? Where did that come from?
Hold on a second, Duvi.
Which is further, bro.
Duvi, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Duvi, is there such a thing as a lefty with his feet?
It doesn't matter. Once you're sure. You ever play soccer?
So there is such a thing.
Sure. Yeah. What foot do you kick with?
Okay, I kick with both. I don't know.
I use the foot that's not on my mouth. So
I think tefillin is a bigger shiloh of the connection than apples and oranges and brachos that you make on food.
Yeah.
So Rabbi Elvin spoke out. I forgot who we spoke out from something beautiful. It says that after Avraham Avinu won the war, Avimelech wanted to give him a lot of money and a lot of things. So Avraham said, "Nichut batzroi chanal," from a thread until a shoelace or a strap of a shoe, I'm not going to take because I'm afraid Shema Yomru that Hishartius Avram. They'll say that Avram's wealth came from this Avimelech, and Avram wanted to be abundantly clear that anything that he had came from a Kodesh, directly from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So the Medrash tells us in the Schus that Avram Avinu said, "Chut v'atzroi chanal," from the Chut we were zoicha to the Chut shel Tcheles of tzitzis, and from the Shrei Chanal we were zoicha to the mitzvah of tefillin. So that's where there's a link between, because it could have said Nichut v'atzroich, I won't take. Avram spokat michut v'tzorech hanal. So it's directly related to the shoe, and it's the comment and the sacrifice that Avram made regarding the shoe that prompted the mitzvah of tefillin, and that's why there's a connection.
Did you ever hear why he took money from Parai but not from Avimelech?
No. What's the answer to that?
No. I forget already the answer, but you reminded me of this question.
I don't know. Maybe then he needed it.
All
right.
Sorry, can I see back to your question? The whole point, the whole fact that the Gemara made the connection in the first place, from the shoe to the tefillin, doesn't matter if you. So obviously they're saying tefillin on the left hand, right? So they're comparing the whole case of the shoe to the tefillin in the first place. So obviously there's a connection of right, your stronger hand to your foot.
When you put your shoe on, noyel shel yamin. First put on the right foot, the agachach noyel shel shmol, and then you put on your left foot, which is in direct contradiction to Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan held you're supposed to put on your left shoe first. On Reb Yosef, since we have a brisa that says that you're supposed to put on your right shoe first, the Omer Rabbi Yochanan hachi, and Rabbi Yochanan says a halacha. That's thank you very much. It's inconsistent. That's inconsistent with what the brisa says. So what should we do? The Avad Hachi Avad, if you do like what Rabbi Yochanan said, it's acceptable. The Avad Hachi, and if you follow the brisa, it's acceptable. Amalei Abaye, how could you say that? Rabbi Yochanan is not a Tana. Rabbi Yochanan Hamas Nisin Lo. Maybe the only reason why Rabbi Yochanan held that you're supposed to put on your left shoe first is because he didn't know about the brisa. But via Shmile, if he would have known what the brisa said, he surely wouldn't argue. V'inami Shmile, or he might have heard that the kasover ein halacha ka'is mishnah, but maybe he holds that the halacha doesn't follow that mishnah that says that you're supposed to put it on the right foot. And the question
Rabbi
is,
Yochanan was a lefty.
It's a good horror. The question: how could Rabbi Yochanan take the liberty of saying, "I don't hold like that mishnah"? So if I remember correctly,
is this Rabbi Yochanan the Tana or the Omer?
The Omer. So I think he brings on.
Maybe there's different shitas and conflicting shitas in the brises that wasn't brought down.
So
Art Scroll says on the bottom.
Right, he brings down the whole.
It wasn't a Mishnah, it was a brisa. It was a brisa. It's not a Mishnah, so he can argue.
Yeah, but he also says that it could be. Alternatively, Reb Yosef might be asking that maybe the brisa and Brochen don't argue. Rather, the brisa says that the right hand should be favored because it's the primary one. And Brochen suggests that the left foot can be favored nevertheless, because just as the left hand is favored regarding tefillin. So Brochen is saying that there's a svara both ways, and therefore it's not a stira. Either one that you do would be appropriate. The article I think brought it down from Tosfos. Okay, so but if Rabbi Yochanan holds you can go either way, frek Tosfos. So why was Rabbi Yochanan so frustrated with his assistant who brought him his right shoe? If Rabbi Yochanan holds you're allowed to do either way because there's a good reason either way, Rabbi Yochanan should not have been upset at his assistant. So Tosfos answers that he was upset because he should have brought him both. He should have brought them both, and then Rabbi Yochanan could have decided what he wanted to do. Rabbi Shaman only brought his right, which means he was sort of railroading Rabbi Yochanan into putting his right shoe on first. So Omer Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak, therefore, what should we do? Yerei Shemayim, Yoitzi de Shneim could be Yoitzi the Shita of both Rabbi Yochanan as well as the brisa. Umani, who was the Yerei Shemayim? It was Mar Barei Deravana. Mar Barei Deravana was a big Yerei Shemayim, and Heichi Yavud, what did he do? Sayim the Yamine, first he put on this right shoe, Veloy Cutter, but he didn't tie it. Visayim the Smolei, then he put on his left shoe, the cutter, and he tied the left shoe. And then he tied the right shoe. And that's how he did.
Yossi, I
So-
always had a question. What about slip-ons?
Oh, that's a very good question, because the Poskim actually discussed that specifically. I'm just going to read it inside. Someone gave me this printout from the Ma'oris Hadaf Yomi. You see it around sometimes in shul, and he brings down the halacha that if you have a slip-on, you put on your right one first. Let me just see specifically who he quotes from, but he does quote from someone beferish that if you have a slip-on, you for sure just put on the right one because there's no tying. Let me just see where he says over here. I saw it somewhere. We brought it down. Yeah, I'm not sure. I saw it here that by a slip-on, you put on your right first. He brings down from Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Somebody wants to ask from Shlomo Zalman about the order of putting on shoes. Shlomo Zalman said, before we even discuss this, I just want to mention, we always say, Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu, Zakes Yisrael, Lefichach Hir B'Halam Torah Mitzvahs. Everybody has to put on their shoes anyway, and everybody has to tie their shoes anyway. Hashem made rules as to how you should do it, just to give us mitzvahs. So when we put on our shoe, it's no more difficult to put it on in the right order than it is in the wrong order. And by putting it on in the right order, we get a mitzvah. That's just one of the chasodim that Hashem has done for us.
Are you over anything if you do it in the wrong order?
I think on Yom Kippur, you better watch out. Yeah.
There's actually a shaila if you're over Nisher. It's a good point, and he brings down that the Rambam doesn't say anything about an Isser, but the Mechaber brings it down that it's also to do the other way, and he says it's a very unique case because it's the only place where the Mechaber is paskening with the Zohar, because normally the Mechaber only paskens with halacha, and here the Mechaber is paskening with the Zohar.
Yes, do you understand why you continue tying on the left? Is that to go with the other shitas that hold you should start with the left, or
yes, that's exactly what Mar Berei the Ravna's compromise was. Give chashivas to the left and give chashivas to the right.
Uh-huh. And did you also understand that if you made a mistake, you take your shoes off and redo it?
Well, that's what we learned from Reb Yochanan, I think.
That you do redo it.
That you have to redo it, yeah.
According to whose word is that at Tzrochan now?
I don't remember who said it. I was listening to it.
Okay, anyway, according to that Shita, it seems like the tying is more important than putting on, because he stresses the shoelace, not the shoe.
He just meant what he wasn't accepting as a gift.
I once heard that the thing here is, though, you put on the right, you tie the left. Sorry, you put on the right, you put on the left, you tie the left, you tie the right. When you take them off, you do it backwards, right? And so
that's a whole big shaila. If you have to do it in the exact reverse order, that's also a shaila in the poskim. It's actually machloikis. The Maharalach, I don't know who that is. He writes to Shulchan Shloima. He says you do it exactly the same way, backwards. But there are those who say that you don't find anywhere that you have to take it off in the same fashion.
So what I heard was the reason that you do it backwards is because then the right foot will stay with the shoe on longer.
Covered longer. That's right. That's the reason.
And so chesed should be greater than din.
So the tzad yamin is the tzad chesed.
Right.
Very nice.
Bottom line is, just like everything else, you can always be samech on someone in case you screw
There's
up.
always someone. I always have a question though. This would never have applied because they only had one pair of shoes. But today, where we have, often a pair of shoes we wear in the street, and then you come home and you put on slippers, like in the winter when it's muddy outside. So the first thing you do when you come in your home is you take off your shoes and then you put on slippers. So I also don't want to put my foot right on the floor because it's wet. So the problem is, what do you do in this scenario? Let's say
that's a good try. Does this rule of shoes apply to other clothing?
Why don't you ask the Rav? Go ahead. You come up.
There's a shayla the place can discuss. exactly a Victor Shaila. Does it apply only to shoes or does it apply to other clothing? And in fact, there's a Shaila. There's a Shaila.
What? Slippers are shoes. I don't understand what you're saying. Other
So
clothing.
you're saying slippers should be considered like shoes anyway. So then how do you do it? If you take off your...
But you do put in your right hand
I've
first
been
into
waiting
your
for
shirt.
years for this to come around the Daf Yomi again. So I can ask the Shaila.
Now, somebody asked about gloves.
I'll tell you what I do. I take my left shoe off. I put my foot on my left slipper.
But not in.
Not in. Then I take my right shoe off and I slide my right. Then
I think you should do a headstand and wait until you right shoe.
There's a Yoreh
what
Shemayim.
Yossi said about from Shlomo Zalman that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us easy mitzvahs to do, so we should have the scar, and then we go and make it very complicated.
So then there's a Shaila. There's actually a Shaila they bring down la halacha when you take off your shoes right before Yom Kippur. Where there's a mitzvah of inui to take off your shoes, which shoe do you take off first? Maybe there, even though, like what Victor said, you want to keep your right foot covered longer, but the mitzvah of taking off your shoes for Yom Kippur, maybe you should take off your right shoe first, because there you're supposed to do the mitzvah with your right foot first. So there are those who hold you should do that, but other folks argue that there's no mitzvah to take off your shoes. You're not supposed to wear shoes on Yom Kippur, so it's not a mitzvah to take off your shoes. So about you don't take off.
Yeah, but Yossi, you're getting dressed in your pants. You're supposed to put in your right foot first.
Yes, for everything else, it's only the left thing is only regarding shoes because we learned from Philin. But any other regarding, you do the right first.
Right first, yeah.
And just to make sure we cover all sides of this equation, what do you do with your galoshes?
There's a famous story. There's a famous story.
We know that.
There's a famous story from one of the brand name speakers. I've heard a number of the brand name speakers tell the story about in the Israeli army. They were going on a mission and they had to run to the helicopters. And one of the soldiers was not from, but he remembered this halacha. You're supposed to put your left shoe on the second, and then tie your left shoe, and he did it wrong, so he took them off and started again. And his commander told them, "We're leaving without you. We're not waiting for you." And as soon as the helicopter took off, it crashed, and this guy saw like an open nace, and he became a frum Jew because of it. Because of this halacha. This halacha saved his life. I believe Rav Fran tells her the story. I think also heard Pastor Prone say it. It's a very powerful story.
Indeed. Okay,
was the story told over by the soldier or from the people in the helicopter?
The soldier.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, they all died.
I heard the story. It's a famous story. But since David Lyman brought up the issue of what about galoshes, there's actually a shaila about that. Not like I've been putting it on. We have this halacha that you're not allowed to wear one shoe on Shabbos because you might carry it. So the shaila is, are you allowed to wear one boot? What if you only have one boot? Are you allowed to wear a galosha on one shoe and not on the other on Shabbos? Or is there a chash just like wearing one shoe?
I never heard the word galosha.
Shouldn't be, because you're protecting your boot, your foot, your other shoes. You don't want to take it off.
Chash, you got to take somebody else's galosh to shul, so you end up with a full.
So I hear, but most people hold you're allowed to. Since Josh Frankel told me a story, a typical Agudah story. This is such an Agudah story. That when he was a younger man, his galoshes always went missing. So he bought himself a new pair of galoshes, and he took a big red marker and he made 3 big red circles on his galosh, on each one. So you can't miss it. And she's so excited because he comes to shul. This time he's finally going to be able to go home with his own galoshes. And at the end of shul, his galoshes are missing again. So he starts looking around and he sees a typical Elter Agudah Yid wearing his galoshes. So he says, "Entschuldigung, so I think you're wearing my rubbers." He says, "Nein, ich bin sicher, 100%, these are my rubbers." So he says, "No, I know it's mine because I made those 3 big red circles on it to make it similar as mine." So the guy says, "I wondered who put those 3 dots on my galoshes." That's a classical good story.
My father has a similar story with Chil Anisfeld. He noticed one day that Chil Anisfeld took his tallis and is wearing it. So he's not going to make a fuss. So he started wearing Chil's tallis. A few weeks later, Chil loses my father's tallis and he goes looking around and he tells my father, hey, you're wearing my talis. So these things happen.
These are the chronicles of the Agudah. They have to be
right.
they have to be recorded to posterity. Now they're on YouTube, so we know they'll never get lost.
Oh.
Okay. Zok the Heilige Gemara weiter. So the Gemara says you can do both ways, and l'chumra you should put on your right shoe first, but tie your left shoe first. Tana Rabban, kishu noil shiyamin, v'achach noil shel smoil. But kishu chayleitz shel smoil, v'achach chayleitz shel yamin. Kishu roichet, when you're taking a shower, roichet shel yamin, first wash your right side, v'achach roichet shel smoil, and kishu sach, and huadin when you're moisturizing, sach shel yamin, v'achach shel smoil. And what if you're not just meaning your right hand and your left hand, but you're moisturizing your entire body? You always start off with your head. The head is the king of your whole body, and that's the first part that you're supposed to moisturize. Omer Safra. I'm sorry, in the Mishnah we asked, why is it that one may not...
Zalman.
Yes.
I just want you to point out if the head means to shampoo your hair or it means your face.
It's talking about sach.
I don't want to make that mistake.
It's talking about sach. Sach means to smear. So it's not talking about rechitza. It's talking about sach.
So when your head is the first, does it mean that you should start shampooing your hair
sach,
or your face?
Sach, what does sach? Doesn't sach mean to put on moisturizing cream? We're not talking
26
about washing.
says washing also.
Oh, it says washing?
Yeah.
Sach means washing?
No, it doesn't mean washing. It
would refer.
Included.
Right. It means both? Yeah. So you want to know if you start from the face or if you start from the head? I don't know. That's a very good question.
Start from the head.
I would think that the face is more important than the hair.
No, it's the roish. It's not your hair, but you're cleaning your head.
Yeah, I don't think it's your face. The roish is where your brain is. So it's probably from the top.
There's not much difference between a face and a bald head.
It's funny who's suggesting that slur and who's suggesting the other slur. I
missed the whole joke.
Mati said there's not much difference between a face and a bald head. So I said it's interesting who said that and who suggested to start washing your hair first. Okay. Okay, so why is it that you should not go out with film? Omer Absafra, Zok Absafra, Loy Tema, Aliba the Mandamar Shabbos Lazman Filnu. It's poshut that according to the Mandamar, according to the Tana in Maseches, I believe Erevin, who holds that you're not even supposed to wear tefillin on Shabbos, it's poshut according to that Tana that you shouldn't be walking outside with tefillin. Even if you hold that you're supposed to wear tefillin on Shabbos, still lo yetze, you're still not allowed to wear your tefillin outside. Dilma osi liyisuye rishus harabim. We're afraid that you're going to carry them in rishus harabim. Most of the Meforshim who learn Rashi learn that it's a shaila because you might have to go to the washroom and you're going to take it off to go to the washroom. And it's a very, very interesting. We should actually see Tosfos because Tosfos teaches us something halacha l'maisa. Tosfos actually is goyrus. It might tear your tefillin, your retzus might rip, and then you cannot wear it anymore, and you might carry it. So koshalari, even if you're not choshi that your tefillin is going to tear, also mishum the zimnin the itzrich levesakisei vasili yesuni dal ramas b'shus harabim. And that's what Tosfos says is what Rashi means. It's mashma in fact that Rashi is not goris, Dilma Mifsaki. It means Rashi must learn it's because you're going to go to the bathroom, appears Dilma Shakalumi Roisha Yibali Fanis. So from here, a very interesting halacha built up. Omer, you should be goris Tosfos' girsa. The Itzrach crime of the Mifsaku, the reason why you need this for of tearing, the tefillin shal yad, the ein tzorech halachlois kitzorech levesakisei el shorosh mishum shin. So the Kodesh Mikravil learns that you would not have to take off. We don't paskin like this. We don't paskin like this at all. Rashi holds that you would have to take off even your tefillin shel rosh. So that's why there's a gzeira on both. But the Rima Kavil says that you would not have to take off your tefillin shel yad when you go into the bathroom, only your tefillin shel rosh. So the Gemara needed another reason to explain why you wouldn't be able to wear your tefillin shel yad outside on Shabbos. So that's a very interesting factoid. Zok to Gemara back. The Agudah Broadcasting Commission. There are those who learn this Reb Safra's comment on the Seifa where it says that if you ended up going out with your tefillin, even though it's osur, it's not a deraisa. Never mind, according to the Tana who holds that you're allowed to wear tefillin on Shabbos, you're supposed to wear tefillin on Shabbos. Even if you learn that you're not supposed to wear tefillin on Shabbos, it's still not a deraisa. My time is derech malbush avida. It's still derech malbush to wear tefillin on Shabbos, even if you're not supposed to. And there's actually a shaila if there's an isser. Oh, and that I made a mistake. I told you before there's a shaila if there's an isser to put on your shoes, and the mechaber paskins that's usher because of the arizal or because of the zohar. It was a mistake. It was this shaila. The shaila about putting tefillin on Shabbos, if there's an isser, that's where it is. The Shulchan Aruch paskins b'loshen isser. He says b'Shabbos v'yom tov osher tefillin. And that doesn't stem with the Rambam because the Rambam does not use the Lashon Isser. Because even if you hold that Shabbos lavs man tefillin, it wouldn't be Isser. So it's a unique case where the Shulchan Aruch is passing like a Zohar because the Zohar says that it's Isser. But it's not written down anywhere in halachic sources that it's Isser to wear tefillin on Shabbos no matter what. Now the shaila is, why is it that you're not supposed to wear tefillin on Shabbos? So let's see if Rashi says, and Rashi doesn't say, but the reason why it's brought down that you don't wear tefillin on Shabbos is because tefillin is an ois, and Shabbos is an ois, and it's a bezoin for the ois of Shabbos if you're wearing the ois of tefillin, or vice versa. That's why we don't wear an ois. Now the Rishonim add a little bit more. They add that b'yoyim chayil on a weekday, every person has two oisos. He has the bris, which is an ois that they're going to put on us, and then we have the ois of tefillin that show that we're in Eved Hashem. Now on Shabbos, since we have an ois because Shabbos by itself is an ois, that's why we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos. So there's a shaila in the Achronim. If lo yaleinu somebody has three brothers that died machmas mila, and because of that he doesn't get a bris. You don't give a bris to somebody whose life is in danger. So does he have to wear tefillin on Shabbos? Because he is missing the ois of tefillin. That's the shaila that they ask. So most of the Achronim hold that even a yid who doesn't have a bris is not called an oral. And he brings a raya from a Gemara that says, if someone says, I'm not going to be mahan an oral, I'm not going to give any of my nechasim to an oral, the halach is he's not allowed to give it to a goy even if the goy is gemalit. Yet he's allowed to give his nechasim to a yid, even though yid is not kamalit, because a yid in Nishkan Ural and a yid in is Nishkan Urala.
1 minute. If there's a rainbow, first of all, why are we limited to just two oses, or one? Why is there a limit?
Well, there's a lot of oises, but the ois that we're Hashem's nation, I think that those are specific oises. And that's why we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos.
No, what I'm saying is, so what's the big deal if you have like two or more oises? Why is that such an issue?
Oh, so the Rishonim say it's because it minimizes. I want to read the lashon because it minimizes the first ois. So let me just read the lashon of the Rishonim.
And I don't see how.
David is asking, why is there a competition between them?
No, and it's not what he's saying, but he brought down from somewhere that says that it's like it's a mavaza one ois if you have the other ois. I wanted to see where
I think these oises are a little too sensitive.
I hear.
What about somebody who has a mitzvah to not keep Shabbos? Right, so a soldier during war or a doctor, should they wear tefillin then because they don't have the oath of Shabbos?
Well, they have Shabbos the whole time just for that instant, and they don't. Like,
A soldier and war, he has to.
Yeah, but not constantly. Right. If he has to, he has to. But the rest of the day, he has to keep Shabbos.
Okay, so while he's fighting, should he put on tefillin? I mean, he doesn't have the oath.
Yeah, but he's not watching a YouTube video while he's waiting for the tank to start moving. He can't do everything. He can't go take a bath.
Okay, let's see the Gemara.
I think you said that earlier, that it's when if you have to take more than two symbols, you're sort of showing that the first one or the second is not adequate.
Right, but that's what David was saying. Why are these symbols so sensitive?
I think I'd like to say that Shabbos is Shabbos Hamalka, and even though it sounds like a joke, Shabbos Hamalka is very sensitive. She's very sensitive to competition.
Well, we know that Tzvi's not at home. He's in his car. So.
Okay, talk to Haley Gemara back. Talk to Haley Gemara. Ve'loi b'kameya. You're not supposed to go with the kameya b'zman she'enim min hamumche. So this is going to get a little bit complicated. Omer Papa, loy tema. Don't say that you need the kameya to be a mumche. Don't say that you need the kameya to be a mumche. Gavre umumcha kameya. It doesn't need that both the person should be a mumcha and the kameya should be a mumcha. And Rashi explains what that means is, don't say sha'asa adam zeh kameya zu. This person used this kameya for three different people. Denasa adam zeh mumcha. This person becomes a mumcha because the person himself sharipa gimel anashim, and the kameya mumcha, and the kameya became a mumcha because the kameya also healed three people. Now, you might suggest that in this case, if one person healed three different people with the same kameya, that really shouldn't prove anything. It proves either that he's a mumcha or that the kameya is a mumcha, but it doesn't prove both. And since we don't know which one it proves, it doesn't really prove anything. So Rashi, the second shot says, "Shekasav adam zeh gimel mini kameyim shel gimel mini chaloim legimel anoshim," meaning 9 people were actually healed. Because this person wrote 3 versions, 3 different kameyas, and each one of those 3 kameyas healed 3 people each. So that proves, in fact, that each kameya is solid, and it proves that this person is solid to build or to create the right kameyas. So that's what our Papa said. Don't say you need that much in order to allow a kameya to be worn. Once one person heals 3 different people, and he's proven that he is a mumche, that's enough that his kameyas can be used on Shabbos. I can prove from the actual lashon of the Mishnah that it's all about the doctor, not about the kameya itself. The katani v'loy kameya bizman she'enoi min hamumche. We're focusing on who wrote the kameya. V'loy katani bizman she'enoi mumche. So the Mishnah is not commenting on the kameya itself. The Mishnah is commenting on the author of the kameya, Shema Mina. So that's proof that it's only about the doctor or about the Rebbe, depending on who's giving you your kameya. Zok the Gemara, Tana Rabban. Now they ask a shaila. We know that Sofek Pikuach Nefesh, you're supposed to avada. You're supposed to avada violate Shabbos. So even if we're not sure which one it is, and the Gemara has shilas about what do you need, we should allow him to carry any type of kameya because it's a Sofek Pikuach Nefesh. So on that, the Poskim answer that when we say Sofek Pikuach Nefesh is Leicha Shabbos, that's for bona fide medical solutions, not for schoolless type of solutions. You're not allowed to be Mechal Shabbos for a skula. And there's a very famous story where there was somebody who was in a matzav of Sakonis Nefashis, and he was Mechal Shabbos to send a letter or a shliach to the Belzer Rebbe, the Sarah Sholem, back in Europe, on Shabbos to ask for bracha, or to ask that the Rebbe should be Poilos Yeshua. And Reb Shlomo Kluger was very furious at the person that did it, because he said, you're not allowed to violate Shabbos. You're not allowed to violate Shabbos to go ask for a Rebbe's bracha. A real refuah, that's what we would be Mechal Shabbos for, but not stuff for bracha. Anyway, the end of the story was the Sar Shalom says, now for sure I have to make sure that I save his life, because if not, then he was Machal Shabbos for nothing. But if I save his life, at least we could say that there was a justified reason for his Chilul Shabbos. I remember when I was in Lakewood, one Shavuos, there was a Bacher in Yeshiva who had meningitis, which was very, very serious. And he was in a very serious condition. So Reb David Shustel there was a Ger Tzedek that would hang around Yeshiva, and he was able to write prescriptions. He had a medical degree, but he wasn't really a practicing doctor. But he would give out, if you want antibiotics, he would give you prescriptions. So Reb David Shustel chapped this doctor, and he took him to the room of this Bacher because it was very serious. They had to see what was going on. So he looks at this boy, and this boy's in really bad shape. And he turns to Reb David Shustel and says, Rosh Yeshiva, Ekmein, we're talking to Hillel. So Reb David Shustel got furious. He says, Nein, Nechmein Epis Lamaisa. We need a real solution. Talk to Hillel Gemara weiter. Tanu Rabbanon. Ein zehu Kameya Mumcha. What is the definition of a Kameya Mumcha? It's called Sharipa, Vishana, Vishilesh. It's a Kameya that the Kameya itself was able to heal 3 times. And this might even mean the same person. But the Kameya itself has proven itself that it was able to heal 3 times. Can
that just be the person?
I'm sorry.
That could just be from the person.
That's a very, very good kasha. And there's actually a Shaila Rashi in Tosfos. Rashi's approach to that is that you always default, because the Gemara on Amud Beis is going to discuss how could you prove it's the Kamei, maybe it's the person. So Rashi says there, and we'll get to it, that we always default to the Kamei. Whenever we could say it's the Kamei, we're going to default to the Kamei. Tosfos doesn't like that shot, but Tosfos asks your kasha, and Rashi asks it as well. But Rashi does say you default to the Kamei.
Can I just stick one thing in here? Doesn't the Kameya rely on the holiness of the person who writes it, and therefore it should prove both the person and the Kameya? Like you can write a Kameya even if you're a bum.
I don't know the Kameya business that well. If I did, I would be a wealthy man. I don't know the Kameya business. I don't know.
Yossi Zalman, I didn't mean to call you a bum.
But I'll tell you a fascinating story that I heard from Menashe Yisrael Reisman on Parshas Truma, and he said that there was a big gadol in London. I don't remember his name, and there was a person in London who died about 2-3 years ago, and he was very ill 20 years ago. They went to this gadol in London, and the gadol in London wrote him a kameya, and this person miraculously survived an illness that they never thought he would survive. 20 years later, which is about 3 years ago, this Rav died. And within 6 hours of this Rav dying, the Yid who had his Kameya died as well, which sort of proves your point. And when they opened up the Kameya, they actually opened it up. His son opened it up to see what was inside. It was written the word Teruma, and in between, Teruma has 5 letters. So in between the gaps of Truma are 4 spaces. So in between the word Truma was Yud Kei Vav Kei. And Rabbi Menashe Yisrael a couple of years ago gave a whole shir on Parshas Truma, and he was Rosh Tevis. I don't remember the whole binyan, but he showed how Truma has a connection with the refuah. I think it's some type of Rosh Tevis was what Truma was, but what you said triggered this memory.
Yeah, yes, you know,
asking it
happened. I think within the last year also, when the Skolena Rebbe was nifter, he was nifter. I think shortly before or shortly after Mrs. Gutman was nifter. You know, Levi Weiss's aunt, Mrs. Gutman. You know the watchmaker's wife. Yeah. And I was at the Levaya, and the son-in-law spoke that about 25 or 30 years earlier, she was deathly ill, and this son-in-law ran to the Skolena Rebbe, and he davened for her. And the Rav said by his hesped that often you find that someone who saves someone's life, as soon as that person dies, the person whose life he saved, you know, with tefillah also dies.
So it's very possible, Chaim Tzvi, that those kameyas are placebos, and they're just to make the guy feel better. But the real Yeshua is the Rebbe probably davens for him every single day, and once the Rebbe dies, he can't daven for him anymore, and maybe that's why the kameya wears off. So maybe those kameyas aren't authentic kameyas. maybe they're just placebos, but maybe authentic Kameyas transcend the person who wrote it. But again, I don't know the Kameya business that well. So I
got one from Rebbitzin Brim.
Oh, really? Wow, you still have it?
Still have it.
Oh, okay.
Is she still alive?
What does it look like?
She's like a little marble. Okay. There's nothing in it. I don't know. It's a special thing. I don't know. There's nothing in it. There's nothing written in it.
Wow. Okay, hold on to it. Zok the heilige Gemara weiter. So doesn't matter if it's something written down or if it's a concoction of some type of spices or roots or whatever it is. And you're allowed to be samech on it. Now, because it had din of a malbish. You don't even need that the kameya healed a person. No, sorry. That you're allowed to wear it, you don't have to be sick to the point where you're going to die and you need it to save your life. You're even allowed to wear kameya as a prevention against chas v'sholom becoming sick. The kosher umatir, you're allowed to put it on and take it off. Afilu b'shus harabim, even in Rishus Harabim, uvilvad shelo yikshirenu b'shir b'tabas. You shouldn't tie it onto a piece of jewelry. That you're not allowed to do. Sign, because people aren't going to know that it's a kameya. They'll think it's a trinket, and that would be awesome. So Rashi tells us before it says kol sharipa v'shana v'shilos afilo demechod, and here the Rashi seems to indicate that it had to have healed 3 different people. So to prove that the person is a mumche, you need that the person healed 3 different people. But just to prove that the kameya is authentic, it's enough that the kameya healed the same person 3 times. And I believe this is where Rashi says it. No, it's not where Rashi says it a little bit later. To answer Martin's kasha, how do you know it's kameya? Maybe it's the muscle of a patient. Omer Papa, Pshitali, it's pasha to me that tlas kameya, tlas gabri, tlas zimni. So this was the case of Rashi where there was actually 9 incidences. So one writer wrote 3 different style kameyas, and each style kameya healed 3 different people. So that validates both Ismachi Gavra. That shows that this person knows how to write good kameyas, and the Ismachi kameya. And it also shows that each of these individual kameyas are good, no matter who would write them, which actually answers Chaim Tzvi's kasha, because Chaim Tzvi's shaila. Rashi says specifically that if it's a smuchi kameya, that means anybody who wrote that kameya would be a good kameya. So therefore, it would be mutter to carry a kameya that's identical to this, even if it was concocted by a different person. So that actually is proof positive to Chaim Tzvi shaila. Now, tlasa kameya, letlasa gavri. What if the doctor wrote 3 different kameyas for 3 different people? Chad zimna. Each one only did 1. So that means there are 3 individual kameyas that each healed, but each kameya was independent from the other. So then this gavra ismachi, kameya ismachi. That would prove that the writer knows how to write kameyas. He wrote 3 good kameyas, but it doesn't prove that each of these kameyas independently work. So this is where it becomes fazi chansi. Because you have a doctor who wrote 3 kameyas. He wrote kameya A and it worked, kameya B and it worked, and kameya C it works. That proves that any kameya that this doctor writes is not a good kameya. But it doesn't prove that kameya A is good. And could be if somebody else writes kameya A, it won't work. So it's very complicated how this works. Sometimes you have to have the right doctor also. So once the kameya itself heals 3 times, then anybody can write that kameya. But the fact that I wrote the kameya doesn't prove anything, because maybe it's the schus of the doctor who wrote it. So it's a sort of a combined thing. A kameya on its own can have the power to heal, and the kameya sometimes only has the power to heal because of the power of the person that wrote it. And we'll soon see, sometimes the kameya only has the power to heal, like Mati says, because of the person that received it, and it's his schus that's saving him. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. So Zot Gemara again. So if one guy wrote 3 kameyas, it's gavri shmachi kameya shmachi. What about chat kameya plus a gavri? What if it's the same kameya that went to 3 people? Kameya ismachi. That proves that kameya is a mumche, but gavri lo ismachi. So boyer papa. What happens if plus a kameya lechad gavri? He wrote 3 kameyas to 1 person. What do you say? Kameya bada lo ismachi. For sure, Kameya is not a mumcha. Gaver ismachi, does that show? So you have one doctor who wrote 3 different kameyas to one person, and each one of these 3 kameyas works. So for sure the kameya doesn't become a kameya mumcha. There's no one kameya healed 3 people. So it's for sure kameya badi lo ismachi. But gaver ismachi or lo ismachi. But maybe the doctor has been proven that he wrote 3 kameyas. And the shaila is miyamrinan ha'asile. Do you say that this doctor is a mumcha because he healed this person 3 times? Or mazla the high gaver who deka mekabel. Maybe it's the who do mekabel tzava teku. Or maybe it's the mazel of the patient. Maybe the patient, his mazel allowed this kameya to work, but who said that it's the schus of the doctor? So Rashi,
the patient has such mazel, he wouldn't need it 3 times.
I hear. So that's where Rashi speaks out. In this Rashi says the lekel misli the mazel the gavra ella b'kameya hani ella b'kameya. Normally, you would not toilet in the mazel of the person only on the kameya, which directly answers Moti Shal that he asked earlier. But in this case, where it can't be the kameya, that's why it's only a question of if it's the doctor, if it's the patient. There, it's not a right. Zok the Gemara bater. Iboyel. Now the Gemara gets easy. Kamein yesh from mishum kedusha. Do kameya have a kedusha? They wrote Shemus in the kameya or psukim. Is it a kedusha? Why do we care if they have kedusha or not? If it's a shayla, if you're allowed to rescue them if they're in a fire on Shabbos, well, tashma habrachas v'kamein afal pi sheyesh ben oisiyos uminyanis harbe shabbatayr. Even though it has oisiyos and many different quotes of different psukim in the Torah, ein matil nashim b'nei leika v'nisrafim b'mkoimon. You let them get burnt in place. So that can't be the shayla. So what do we want to know whether or not the kameya is a kedusha? Elolin geniza, do you have to put them away like shemus? Tashma. If you wrote Hashem on the handle of a keli, or Balkara Mita on the post of a bed, the halach is you're not allowed to be mavas Hashem. You should cut it off, and you have to make a geniza. So for sure, a kameya that has something on it needs geniza. Elo, the shayla is likonos ben bebeis hakisei. Are you allowed to go in to a basic kisei wearing a kameya? My, do you say yesh ben kedusha ba'asir or dilma ein ben kedusha b'shari? Tashma. Let's bring a raya. It says in the brayso, "V'loy b'kameya." You're not allowed to wear a kameya on Shabbos. Is man she'einu min hamumcha. If it's not from a mumcha, ha min hamumcha. If you have a kameya of a mumcha, no, but you're allowed to go out on Shabbos. The amrit kameya yesh ben mishum kedusha. If you hold that you have to take a kameya off and you go into the bathroom, zimnin the mitzvah basic kisei. How could you allow somebody to wear kameya outside? Shouldn't you make a gzera that you might take it off and carry it? So how come I slim the kameya shalikrid? The kameya that the Braysh is talking, the Mishnah is talking about that you can go out with is a kameya that's not shemus. It's kameya with different spices in it, like Moti's marble, something that you're allowed to bring into the base of kisei. In fact, the more about Tanya echet kameya shal tzav, echet kameya shal ikrin. The Braysh says specifically that the Mishnah is speaking about both. How could you wear it? You might take it off and go to the bathroom. The Braysh is speaking about a chilul sheish b'sakana, and that's why you're allowed to go to the bathroom with it. In fact, the more Batanya chilul sheish b'sakana are allowed to wear it. He might take it off to go to the bathroom. So the more huge chiddush of keeping the masi, since it heals, it won't be carrying. It's not only not carrying if you wear it around your neck. If you hold a kamei in your hand, that's not either considered carrying because it's something that heals you. It has a din of a tachshit, even when you're carrying it in your hands. Zok to Gemara, but the Braysh says you're not allowed to carry. So how could you say a kamei you're allowed to carry? Or it was speaking where the kamei was wrapped in leather, and therefore you're allowed to go into the bathroom with it. So there's no chash that you would. There was no chash you would go into the bathroom. In fact, the more about tefillin, the mechupa or. How does something being covered with or protect kisvei kodesh from going into the bathroom? Every tefillin is covered with or. The bottom are made out of or. The Tanya nichas lebeis hakisei choylet tefillin barachim dalaramis v'nichnas or hasam mishum shin. That's because on the shorosh you have a shin, and that's a ksab as well. The Omer baya shin shel tefillin alach l'moshe mesinai. Omer baya dal shel tefillin alach l'moshe mesinai. Omer baya usual tefillin alach l'moshe mesinai. So the reason why you're not allowed to go into the bathroom with your tefillin is not because of the shal yad, it's because of the shoulder. So it seems to say that you're allowed to go in to the bathroom with shol yad tefillin. The loy b'shurian, the kasta b'shurian was a scale suit that soldiers would wear. Kasta is a helmet. Megafayim are protective clothing, metal protective clothing that were worn from the waist and down. So that was part of the entire body armor of a soldier. Shurian is a zarda, and kasta amarav sanveroso, which is a helmet. Megafayim amarav pasmaki. And the reason why you're not allowed to wear it is because someone might think, if you're going out to a Mechemes Mitzvah, you're allowed to be Mechal Shabbos. Somebody might think you're going out to have a private fight, which is not like Shabbos, and they'll think that, and that's why you shouldn't wear such clothing, because people shouldn't think that you're going out to have a fight, which you're not allowed to do on Shabbos.
Shkoyev.
Okay, I'm sorry that it slept so long. It's very late. I'm sorry it slept so long. But we finished the Indian. Okay, Shkoyev, everybody. Have a wonderful, so I guess tomorrow we'll start at the Mishnah.
Yossi, I just emailed you a copy of the Daf Digest from today's Daf. Talks at length about the I just emailed you the second page. That talks about the halach with the shoes and everything. Very interesting.
Okay, thank you. Shmuel, did you get my package yesterday?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day, everyone.
Okay, be very well. Have a wonderful day. Have a successful day, producer day, a healthy day, and a happy day.
Amen.
As Archie says, happy days.
Happy days.
Amen. Hans. Thanks.
Be well. Bye-bye.